December 2nd, actually it is today, December 2nd, 1991, and I'm at the home of Albert Jackson's in Morrill, Maine, and we're going to talk about his memories of the Frye Mountain area, and also about his grandfather, Herbert Jackson. Maybe we should start, though, Albert, with you did have something on the over the phone there about the Gene Jackson place. I'm particularly curious about this whole Frye Mountain thing. Everybody I've spoken with said that it was one of the nicer areas of the general Montville area.
It's a beautiful area. Beautiful area. All of the farmhouses, at least a good part of the farmhouses, had running spring water right into their house. I mean, this is way beyond its time, and it was all nature's doing of spring water from the side of the mountain into the house. And because I'm not old enough to remember all the history of it, but during the Depression time, I believe that Roosevelt got the idea that to buy the thing up and create work, building roads and, for people that was out of jobs, and so that's what happened. And he bought up the entire mountain. Because you mentioned Gene Jackson, he wouldn't have sold under any circumstance. And they in hunting, I have seen the boundaries, and they kind of went around his place. And because he lived there for a good many years, and finally he moved down with his brother, sold his place. But Gene was very stubborn, and he just wouldn't sell to the government.
I'm surprised there wasn't more people who didn't want to sell. I mean, some of those farms had been described to me as being in good shape. The houses, the buildings were all well kept. The farms were doing all right.
Yeah, I believe they was, but I don't know what incentive the government gave them to sell. They probably got more money, than they'd ever seen before. And they figured, well, what the hell, let's sell out and get off the mountain.
And maybe because Gene Jackson's place was on the outskirts of the area, they didn't work so hard to convince him or something that they could live with.
Yeah, it's possible. It's possible because it was on it would be on the western side of the mountain, and maybe they didn't figure, well, what the hell, if he didn't want to sell, let's go around him,
It would have been more difficult if somebody had not wanted to sell who was in the middle of the whole operation.
Right. Absolutely. I don't know what they'd done in that case.
Huh.
But somewhere I have a photo. I tried to find it before you got here, but I couldn't. The whole side of this mountain, there wasn't a tree there. Now I have that photo somewhere. But I can give you the names of the guy that's got one, and you might want to look at it.
Yeah.
I can look out here now and see the lookout tower, but the trees have grown up so much that it's not that visible.
Now, where were you living when those places were being bought out?
I was in Morrill.
You were?
I was living here in Morrill. Not this place, but another place down beyond.
Do you remember when they burned the houses?
Yeah. They took out the windows and doors and took them over to the what is now St. George's State Park, and they sold them to anyone that wanted them, and then burnt the rest of the house. It seemed like a real stupid project, and I still think it is, because there were some beautiful farms up there. And it's too bad, really, you got running water in your house without any electricity to destroy all these farms, Doesn't make sense, but still they did it. Now, during World War II, the very first, I can remember they used to have troops up there training.
And they have the National Guard goes up there
Yeah,
still.
and the National Guard has a firing range. Yeah.
I've asked this to a couple of people, and nobody seemed to remember anybody trying to move any of the buildings out of there. I mean, the government was interested in buying the land, not the buildings. And there were nice houses, there were nice barns, and I imagine all kinds of outbuildings on these different farms. And a lot of the people didn't move very far away. I'm surprised they didn't try to move some of the buildings off the mountain.
No, apparently that wasn't their plan. They bought them and they just got rid of them the best way they could.
Right. Do you remember seeing the fires?
I don't recall seeing the fires, but I do remember some of the buildings, because years ago, I wasn't very old, but we have, took a Sunday ride through the mountain and see all those nice big farmhouses and big barns and cattle. But I really don't know why the government was interested in this project, but apparently maybe they figured to put people to work or something. I don't know.
Does seem like a waste. One of the reasons a couple of people gave me was that the reason they thought people had wanted to move off the mountain was that the roads were so bad. And at that time it was just hard to maintain roads, and cars were becoming being used much more, so that it was hard to get in and out of there, except for a few months out of the year with a car. But then when the government bought the land, then they built roads.
Right.
Which doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense.
No.
Because the people that lived there had coped with this for years. I mean, in the winter they'd take a pair of horses and drag a plank under the front sleds, and it would harden down, because we don't get the winters like we had back then. And they could go in and out. I guess they were just as happy probably as we are today with television.
Yeah.
Probably they're better off.
Yeah. There were some other Jackson families, weren't there? I saw a map of the area, and it's kind of hard to read, but it had some.
Yeah,
each of
there was.
Are there other relations of yours that had farms there? Or?
Arthur Jackson, which he didn't live on Frye Mountain, but he lived on Hogback Mountain, on the north side of Hogback Mountain. My other grandfather lived, approximately a mile from him. But, they used to work together and hay together, and my grandfather Herbert, who had a real big voice, he and my other grandfather could, on a real clear day, they could stand in each other's yards and holler back and forth to each other.
A mile away.
I can remember that. Out there hollering at the top of their voice.
Now, where did Herbert live?
Herbert lived, it was on the north side of the mountain, but it was...
Of Hogback Mountain.
Right, of Hogback Mountain. there's no route, but you know where
Is his house still there?
his house is still there.
Oh.
In fact, we was up about 3 weeks ago.
Huh.
My aunt, which was born there, I was born there.
Huh.
She came out one day, and we decided to go out and see the old home place.
Yeah.
And it's been sold several times and changed over. But of course, my aunt, who is, well, she is 76, but she's good health, and you know, we went up, and it was interesting because I can remember some of the changes that was made, but she can remember every change that, you know, over the years that people have made. We went into the room where what they used to call a summer kitchen is where my grandfather had his still. And they had changed this all over and made it into different rooms and closets. But the stairs where I remember taking the gallon cans of alcohol from the still was still there. But someone took the old staircase. They sawed it right off and took it away, because it was a beautiful staircase running, you know, up the stairs. But they took the staircase away.
Now, what road? I'm trying to picture where this house is.
Do you know where Halldale is?
Yeah.
Okay, going from here, you go up to Center Montville, hit 220 towards Freedom, right? Mm-hmm. You come to Halldale Corner. Mm-hmm. Take
where
a
the
left.
Store used to be.
Right. You take a left. Yeah. And do you know where the cemetery is? From the time you turn...
I know where the church is, the old church.
Okay, the old church. Okay, you keep going by Hutchin Brothers, which everyone knows. Right. You go probably 2 miles.
Is it that place on the top of the hill there?
Okay.
In the open field?
Do you know where they make... there's a pottery place.
Yeah.
That's it.
Oh, that's it?
That's it. The people that moved in there started that pottery business.
Okay.
Yeah, that's it there.
I actually lived there one winter.
No kidding. Well, that's where I was born.
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
Somebody coming in?
I don't know. I'm a tax collector, and possibly somebody's coming to pay tax.
Right. That's a riot.
Yeah.
That's the Herbert Jackson place.
That's the Herbert Jackson place.
It's painted yellow.
That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Because he used to make sauerkraut, and the big thing years ago was he used to he always went barefooted.
He always went barefooted?
Yeah, in the summer. Always did. Because he had such big feet that it was hard to get shoes. He did. He took a 13 or something like that shoe. And they always made jokes about he used to tramp the sauerkraut in the barrel with his bare feet. Of course, that wasn't true, because I watched him make a lot of sauerkraut. But, you know, it was quite a thing back then. Once a still got a fire. Maybe you don't want to hear about this.
Oh, I do, yeah.
Once a still got a fire, and they had to call the fire department. Well, back then the fire department wasn't that much, but still they came. And they got the fire out, fortunately. But in the process, some of the sheriff department came, because they saw the still, and there's nothing they could do. But anyway, they give my grandfather a summons to court. So he went to court. Well, yeah, besides his still, he always made probably 10 or 12 barrels, 50-gallon barrels of cider every year, which he planned on selling, you know, along with his alcohol. Mm-hmm. So anyway, he went to court, and the judge gave him 30 days in jail and a little fine. I forget what the fine was. Didn't amount to much. But at the end of it, he said, "Mr. Jackson, have you anything to say?" And he said, my grandfather said, "I don't mind the fine. I don't mind the 30 days in jail, but I hate like hell to take it from a man that stole my jugs." The judge had been out there to buy some cider. He didn't have any jugs, so my grandfather loaned him the jugs, and he never brought the jugs back. Now, this is the God's truth. So he went up to do his 30 days, and back in those days, of course, if he knew the sheriff very well, and somebody would go down and visit him, and they'd go in for a visit, and they'd say, "Where's Herbert?" And the sheriff said, "Just, I don't know. He was here. He may be downtown. He may have went downtown for something." He had free reign at the jail. And he had enough connections, because my grandfather was very well known and everyone knew him for miles around. If there was ever going to be a raid or anything, he'd get tipped off. But that time the still got a fire, and the fireman came, and he got caught that time. That's the only time he ever got caught that I know of.
Huh. And he did this for quite a long time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. The fire didn't hurt anything though.
No, the fire, it did very little damage.
Yeah. Huh.
In fact, when I was up there, it was in November, last month I was up there, I saw a burnt section that nobody has ever touched right in that same room. I mentioned it to the people that bought the place. There was a little burnt section on the wall that nobody has ever touched. It's kind of an out shed building, and
right.
Nobody has ever.
So that was the summer kitchen, that shed?
That was the summer kitchen.
Off the north side of the house there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be darned.
But of course, I remember when I was a kid, I used to go to auctions with him, and I used to get a kick out of it because I could sit right up side of him, set up on the stage. I was only 6, 7 years old, maybe 8 at that time. But he had the crowd right in stitches all the time with his jokes, and I can remember one time that he was auctioning off farm stuff, and they had a few Jersey cows and heifers to sell. So they'd bring them out one at a time, and they'd bid them off, and the guy led out this Jersey heifer, probably a 2-year-old, and he tried to get a bid on her. You know, back then you could buy a cow for $25, but he'd start about at $5 and keep working them up. And people, some of the older people were sitting, you know, in the front rows in chairs, and the people standing everywhere. It's a big crowd. And he said, "Who'll start this heifer off at $5? Nobody said a word. And this lady sitting right in the front row said, "Mr. Jackson, is that heifer bred?" He looked down at her and he said, "By God, I don't know, lady, but she would have been if I'd have been the bull." And people started bidding. It didn't matter what they was, you know, it didn't make a damn. They started bidding, and he sold that heifer, that 2-year-old. I don't know what the heifer was bred or not, but that's the answer he gave. Yeah. And that heifer sold, no problem. And that's the way it went.
Yeah. So you traveled around the countryside and doing auctions everywhere?
Everybody was after him to do auctions. Yeah.
He was quick-witted.
He was very quick-witted. Yeah. And I mean, instant, he would come up with an answer. I don't give a damn what they said, you know. He would have an answer for them, and people loved it. Right. And they was after him everyone was after him to. Because my mother and father were divorced when I was probably 4 or 5 years old. My mother lived there. But she, in later years, I have found out that she just couldn't tolerate all these people coming. And I don't give a damn who it was, came in, he'd say, "Pull up a chair and have some dinner with us," you know. And she just couldn't go along with that. I think that was she wanted my father to move out because that was his life there, and he was helping my grandfather. And
people were always coming and going to pick up a bottle of cider or a bottle of moonshine.
That's right.
Too, probably.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's right.
Huh. What did he make the moonshine from?
Well, he used potatoes, rice, and sugar. He used to buy sugar by the 100-pound bags, you know. And I'm not sure of all the ingredients, but somewhere I have one of his books.
Is that right?
I have, yeah. I can't lay my hands on it right at this minute, but there was to make any kind of drink that you wanted, just about. A book that thick of... Because all of your drinks, their base is alcohol. And what you put in them, if you want whiskey, why, you know, there's certain things to put in, and I'm not up on it because I didn't dare to get into that business. Although I think it would be, you know, probably pay pretty well.
This was during Prohibition that he was doing it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Right.
Huh.
Well, I think during Prohibition, probably after Prohibition, because, you know.
Once he was set up, no sense.
Once he was set up, no sense to quit, and he had all of his customers, you know.
Right. Huh.
But I don't know. It's.
What were you saying about helping him carry the? Oh, over the phone you were speaking about loading the truck and stuff. Tell me about that again.
when he was operating the still, he had a real big still that really produced alcohol. And I don't know where he got these cans, but it stands out in my mind of these gallon shiny cans. And as he would fill these cans, he would set them aside from the still, and he would give me a penny a can to lug these cans from the still in through the kitchen, the living room, and stack them on the back stairs. So I would lug in there until I'd put them too wide up the edge of the stairs. Then I'd get up, pretty near the top of the stairs times he got his batch, what he wanted run. So then on Saturday, usually it was a Saturday or Sunday, there'd be a cattle truck drive in. The guy would have on an old cow or a calf or 2-3 calves. He'd open the tailgate, get up in the truck. He'd get up in the top of the truck and he'd open up a little compartment up there. He'd turn a knob, I forget just what it was, a nail or a knob, but he'd turn it and this little trap door would open. They'd go in, they'd lug all the alcohol out and stack them in this compartment. And he'd just close up the compartment, close the tailgate, exchange your money, and away he'd go. That's, I've seen that so many times that.
That's right.
And, back then, I don't know what he got for it.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Being a kid, I wouldn't first know.
Right. That's funny. I can picture, now I know the house. I can picture you lugging those cans through the kitchen and the front stairway by the front door there, because there were 2 stairways in that house.
Right.
There's the
Right.
formal stairway over by the front door, and then there's the back kitchen stairs.
Yeah. Well, it was by the front door.
Yeah, right.
Because they put in a bay window, and
Right.
this wasn't there when I was.
Oh, is that right? Yeah.
No.
On the kitchen.
Well, it's on the room facing the pottery shop.
Oh.
The bay
there's a bay
window.
window there too. There's a bay window in the kitchen as well.
That was there.
Yeah, that was there.
That was there.
Right.
Yeah. But the other one wasn't. It's kind of strange that you live there.
It's funny. I had no idea that was the place.
That's the place.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was born in that room where they put the new bay window on.
Uh-huh.
On the west side of the house.
Right. The front room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's real. But he had he had a new car, and he used to go up to Thorndike to get his sugar. I can remember that.
Up at the train depot?
Yeah. And he'd load his car up with sugar and what other supplies he needed and head for home.
Huh. It must have been a little suspicious buying all that.
Well,
sugar, right?
everybody, because they wanted to sell the sugar, they're not going to say nothing. And, back then, it's not like it is today. Everybody knew what he was doing, but nobody said anything because everybody liked a little liquor once in a while.
Yeah, somebody was here.
So what else you get to cover?
Well, I don't know. Can you think of any more anecdotes about your grandfather? One of the things that Clayton had told me about was that he sold a chamber pot in an auction one time. Did you ever hear that story?
Oh yeah, I've had it. I really don't know I really don't know the details on it, but I remember people talking about it. He had just about everything he sold, he had a story to go along with. I mean, he made it up.
Yeah.
He made it up instantly, but I forget the story about the chamber. I've heard it, but I forget it.
There's probably some of these stories that have circulated like that.
Oh,
like
I'm
that
sure.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah. The chamber pot was something about
Uh,
wash me often and keep me clean, and I will never tell what I have seen.
Yeah.
It was a poem he had written, or he said it was inside the chamber pot or something.
Yeah, I can guess that's probably just about right. But by doing this, he got good prices because people would get so carried away that they'd get bid in, and you know how it is. Sometimes you get bid a little more than you should, and you really don't want the damn thing to begin with, right?
Yep.
But they just bid because they get to laughing, and he was good at that. He was, a real artist at it, in fact. Like that story on the heifer. I mean,
Yeah.
who else would have thought of something like that? And it was instantly, He didn't have to stop and think about it. But
Did he have a regular place where he ran auctions, or did he just go around when people would call him?
no, he'd go around. People would be calling him, and of course back then you had the old party line with 10 or 15 people on the line, and once the telephone rings, everybody picks up the receiver. So word got out pretty good, and that was the way it went. Yeah, he was a big man with a voice, a thunderous voice. And I know he used to get me to, I used to go with him when he went after supplies up to Thorndike. And we get in the store, and he said, "Why don't you sing him a little song today?" Well, he had taught me the songs, right? So I used to sing these little songs. And of course, they would give me candy and soda pop and lollipops. And I thought, this is a hell of a deal, Later, my mother found out about it, what kind of songs he was teaching me. And she didn't think too much of it. So, but I had a good time anyway. I got a lot of candy and stuff.
What were the songs he was teaching you then? Little ditties? Little parodies and things?
Yeah.
Dirty words?
Well, the one I remember, mostly the old cat shitting the shavings. That was one he taught me, and that used to produce a lot of candy and ice cream. So I look forward to going to the store because, they didn't have too much candy and ice cream at home.
That's funny.
So, but I'm sure there's a lot of things that I've forgotten that, given a little time, I could remember. But,
Yeah. When did he die?
I believe it was 1944. Yeah.
And how old would he have been at that time?
About 18. That's when I went, the same year I went in the service.
Oh, you would have been 18. I mean, how old was your grandfather?
My grandfather was 76, I believe. Yeah. Yeah, he was a big man.
Must have been with size 13 feet. Huh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Size 13 feet.
He was always getting into some kind of a deal. There was some guys that, a couple of his friends that worked back years ago. They had those CC camps, the government-sponsored programs in building roads and stuff. Well, there was a couple guys, couple of his friends that he knew, was working up in Patton on a road project. And they caught this little black bear. So they brought it home with them. Well, on the weekend, they come up to my grandfather's and to buy cider. So they come in. The thing of it is, my grandfather would drink right along with these guys. They'd buy a gallon of cider and sit down at the table and 3 glasses, and everybody would be drinking. So they went through this gallon and they bought another gallon, set it up. So they were sitting there drinking, and they tried to sell the bear to my grandfather. I've heard my grandfather tell this many times. He said, I didn't want the damn black bear. He said, I told them fellas the bear market had all gone to hell. So, he said, I want about, they couldn't get me drunk enough to buy that damn black bear. That's just a few things I remember. I was young, but I do remember stuff like that. Yeah. So I told him the bear market had all gone to hell.
That was a pretty good one.
Yeah. Of course, back then the train used to come into Thorndike, regular, and he got together with one of his buddies, and they decided to send out, I think it was Iowa, out west somewhere, and buy some razorback hogs. So there was a horse, I can't remember the name of the horse dealer, but he lived up around there somewhere. So they got together and they ordered 500 hogs. And they come in on the train in Thorndike in a boxcar. So they hauled them home, and of course they didn't make any preparations to house them or anything. They got them home and they just turned them loose on Herb's place. Well, I remember them, they was long, but they was awful thin, that's why they called them razorbacks, I guess.
Huh.
But his 500 hogs just brought home and turned loose on the farm. And they had hog cholera. They brought it with them. And there was dead hogs everywhere. Once he found out they had hog cholera, they started killing them, But they wasn't in shape, good shape. And my grandfather said, I think the hog business I'll stay out of. He said, I lost money on that deal.
Gee.
But he always was getting into something, that something a little different, think he'd make some money, but the hog business kind of petered out on him.
That wasn't it.
No.
500 hogs, and he had to kill them all.
Well, he never got them all.
Oh, they ran off.
They
in the
ran,
woods and
some of them, they saw hogs there 2 or 3 years after. Some of them went onto the mountain and the hogs, Christ, there was hogs everywhere. He killed what he could get a hold of, you know, and what didn't die, but a lot of them died. A pile of them died.
Yeah.
Of course, I don't remember just how many, but
Yeah. Must have been quite an event.
yeah.
So
But that's a lot of hogs.
sure is.
I mean, think nowadays, me getting 500 hogs and turning them loose. Christ, they'd have me in jail. My neighbors would, you know, but back then nobody said anything. It's just,
Yeah. That's
know.
true. You could get away with a lot more in those days.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
500 dogs. Loose on the mountain
Yeah.
there. Huh. Well, there was nobody that lived right next door, anyway.
No, there was no real close
ways.
neighbors.
Yeah.
Years ago, Tom Thompson lived down below towards the cemetery.
Right.
That place is, I guess, I don't know what it burned or what happened to it.
Well,
But,
there's that other house. There's an old house there too, on the opposite side of the street, towards the cemetery.
right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There was an old fellow that lived there when I was living up there.
Yeah.
Can't remember his name. You know who that was?
No, I don't. No, see, I haven't had any contacts
Yeah.
up there for years.
Huh.
So that's
That's quite a story. 500
that story of my grandfather, I guess.
hogs. Yeah. Well, you mentioned somebody who lives nearby here that I should talk to on this Frye
Yeah,
Mountain.
Roy had.
Roy
In
had.
fact, I gave him a call,
Uh-huh.
and he said he'll talk with you.
Okay, great. I'll
So he just lives down the road, just
Uh-huh.
short ways.
Okay. Can you think of anybody else? I was the other person who I had on the list to see was Lee Carter.
Yeah, I don't even know him.
I guess his father was George Carter, and he had one of the big farms up on the
Yeah.
Carter Ridge. They call it.
Yeah. Now Roy could tell you right where that was.
Yeah.
I'm not sure just where it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lee lives down by what they call the plantation,
Mm-hmm.
where the chicken houses are.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
Clayton took me for a ride up all around the mountain
He
a
did.
week or so ago. Yeah, pointed out where different places were.
Right.
That was pretty interesting.
But you know, it's getting so that there's not too many people now that really know where everyone lived. That's why I think you should see Hatch, because
How old of a man is he?
he's about my age.
Uh-huh.
He's a little older than I am.
Uh-huh.
He's older than I am.
So he wasn't very old either when he was. I mean, when this whole thing took place,
No,
because like
no, he couldn't have been.
Clayton's probably about your age too, and
Mm-hmm.
he was saying he was 9 or 10 when they moved off the mountain.
Yeah.
In the mid
Yeah.
30s.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But there's not too many people left that,
Mr. Carter, I think, is older. I think he's in his 80s.
yeah.
So he probably has a better. He may
Yeah.
have moved away before the thing took place, though. For that matter, I don't know. But he probably remembers the area better.
Yeah, I'm not acquainted with him at all.
Yeah. Who else would know some stories of Herb Jackson?
Well, unless you talk to his daughter,
Huh.
she's my aunt.
Your aunt? Oh, who was out visiting?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
Huh.
she would know more than I did.
Right.
If you want to talk to her,
Does
I'll
she live in the area?
in Belfast.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Yeah.
End of interview.